Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/get-started. That's GREENLIGHT.com/get-started.
We don't have to go in.
Well, but we do, though.
We could start a new podcast. Hey, how about that quiz show idea? You know, we could do the...
It's too late to say yes to that now, man.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Eli.
Is this it?
Is what it?
Well, usually you open the show with some thematic shenanigans, and since this week's episode is about the Texas City disaster, we're kind of worried that the studio would be filled with dynamite or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, dynamite, please.
No?
No, it is the whole studio.
What is the whole studio?
It's ammonium nitrate, the whole thing.
What?
Every mic, every picture,
How?
every door frame, pure, sometimes painted ammonium nitrate. So as long as we're careful, we can podcast as usual.
Eli, I do not think that...
Hey, guys. Sorry, Heath and I were late. The wait at the Publican was forever.
Forever, totally, yeah. So, guys, settle the debate for us. Who do you think can slam a door harder, me or Tom?
That's totally me. I can slay.
No way. I don't think it's you, but show me.
I hope my next clone is taller.
They can't be taller, Cecil. They're clones.
Oh, I know.
Slam it.
Oh, I will.
Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia and pretend we're experts because this is the internet and that's how it works now. I'm Cecil and I'll be directing this OSHA workplace safety video, but I need our cast, our instructional workplace Emmy nominee for best railing death and the guy who was clearly in the sexual harassment workplace video last week, Eli and Tom.
Thank you, Cecil. I gained 100 pounds for that role. I mean, technically, I gained 100 pounds for all my roles, but that one that is included in the roles.
Cecil, when I'm in a movie and it says based on a true story, brother, I'm going to make sure that that's accurate. Also, guys, I'm in a lot of trouble, so if we can...
I saw the video.
You need to talk to Karen in HR.
Yeah.
And the two guys who spend the whole movie doing rails of coke off a moving forklift, Keith and Noah.
How am I the cocaine guy? How am I one of the cocaine guys here? Like, why is it never, please welcome the guy with all the fascinating fun facts that he has, or like, guy who retweets amusing headlines from The Onion, or like,
good.
fun sock collection guy. I have a lot of things.
You've already answered that question, but I was going to say the same thing for the other direction. You haven't earned being the cocaine guy, okay? You got to live that.
I like the game with the forklift that we play. Yeah. but like powdered sugar's fine. Like I don't care what the powder is.
Ammonium nitrate. Hey, patrons. Producing these shows takes a lot of time and effort, and we love that you virtually throw something in the tip jar every week. And if you want to get access to an amazing tip jar, be sure to stick around till the end of the show. And with that out of the way, tell us, Noah, what person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event will we be talking about today?
A couple of big-ass explosions.
Oh, Eli after vegan burrito.
Okay, so just a couple of big explosions.
All right, Noah, you ready to blast off?
I am so ready. Okay, so on the suggestion of patron Cindy Lynch, hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
We met at the Sydney a few years ago at the patron-only pizza party. That was awesome.
Yeah.
She's an amazing photographer, actually. Hey, Cindy.
She's also got a lot of amazing shit to photograph. So, so Cindy suggested that we do the Texas City disaster, and I liked the story. I just didn't think there was quite enough to fill an entire episode, so I decided to toss in another big ass explosion to round it out.
Cecil, Noah's including my poop breaks in our podcast again. Tell him he's not allowed. He's not allowed.
I will do no such thing. The world needs to know about how many fucking poop breaks
Yes,
you
right.
take.
God
It
knows.
is a lot.
I'll tell you what, Eli. I'll stop including your poop breaks in the podcast when you stop including your poop breaks in the podcast. How's that?
No deal.
So, if I asked you what the deadliest industrial accident in American history was, you may not know.
Enron.
Nope. But if I ask, you're on the right track though. But if I asked you to guess which state it took place in, I feel like almost everybody would guess right because Texas.
Enron was right about that part.
Yeah. Because Texas is nothing but a giant pile of tinder and unregulated explosives, and it always has been. And that brings us to Texas City in 1947. All right, so Texas City is just south of Houston on the water.
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, well,
You're
yes,
Houston.
it is. Exactly.
Indeed.
So,
Nothing good has ever happened near Houston.
Nope.
That's not.
no, well, in fact,
Possible.
it's a major port just across the water from Galveston, the site of the deadliest natural disaster in American history. That's just a fucked, cursed place to be. So our story begins at the port on April 16th of 1947 aboard a U.S.-built French-registered ship called the SS Grand Camp. The Grand Camp's cargo? About 2,300 tons of ammonium nitrate. Which-
Okay. I think I'm starting to see the problem. Go ahead.
Well, so now that would have been bad enough all on its own, right? But it's docked in a port filled with oil tankers next to a shoreline filled with oil refineries. So you can imagine how this is going to go super bad.
Hey, boss, where should I park this barge full of match heads? Squeeze it next to the train car filled with the sandpaper. Right up over there.
This is beginning to explain Texas's first state motto. Texas. What could go wrong? It did have to change.
Yeah, no, the license plates just kept getting longer and longer and longer. They're like, okay, fuck this, yeah. So now, it should be noted that as half-assed as they are about industrial regulation in Texas today, it was actually worse in 1947. In fact, even the details of how the ammonium nitrate was stored sound like they're begging for a citation needed episode. Apparently, it was transported and stored at high temperatures because
What?
that increased the chemical activity and thus prevented moisture caking.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Good.
no, because when you're storing thousands of tons of high explosives, you want a lot of chemical activity going on.
Shake it up.
Okay. Moisture caking is dangerous, guys. Let's go ahead and get some Ian Newton there. Yeah, double toil, whatever the fuck. Perfect. Okay. It's about safety. That's the point. I'm serious. It's about safety.
So also, by the way, apparently the crew on the fucking ship was smoking.
Caliente.
I mean, before the big explosion, right? Like smoking cigarettes. I mean, I'm not sure if they were allowed to smoke or if people just looked the other way. But given the 1947-ness of all of this, I'm assuming they were just ashtrays next to the explosives.
All right, guys, when you flick your cigarettes and then walk away in slow motion without looking back, which we all do, just make sure you get them into the cauldron. It's a mess right now.
Right,
This is ridiculous. About safety.
All right, so it's about 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning when a
If it blows up, it'll just pick you up gently and toss you. So you don't have to worry. You'll be fine.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Jump at the same time. When you hear the explosion,
you gotta jump.
Yeah, it's about timing.
All right. So it's around 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Actually, you have to jump right before you hear it. It's really complicated.
Yeah, that is harder. Unless you can find a refrigerator to get into,
Yeah.
which case
Then you're fine.
Yeah, you're
Totally
fine.
fine.
So it's around 8 a.m. on a Wednesday morning when a member of the Grand Camp's crew spots smoke in the cargo hold. Now, these motherfuckers know they're sitting on tons of highly explosive material, so they treat it like the emergency situation that it is. Over the next hour, they repeatedly try to extinguish the fire, but every time they think they've got it under control, a few red embers will pop back up and it'll start smoking again.
Okay, who put the hoax relighting candles on the ammonium nitrate cake again?
Okay. I just love the 1947 Eli that kept leaving for the lunch break when the fire wasn't all the way out.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That should do it, right?
I think we're good.
I was
I think
supposed to
we're
be
good.
done at noon.
My vegan burrito's getting cold. I gotta go.
It's 12:04, guys. 12:04.
On my 15.
Now, at this point, the idea is floated that they unmoor the ship and get it as far from the dock as possible. Thank you. This seems like the right thing to do. And the hindsight of knowing how this turns out makes it seem like a moral fucking imperative. That being said, there's a solid reason not to set out to sea as well. First of all, once you leave the dock, you can't get firefighters on and off the ship, right? So not only are you cutting yourself off from reinforcements, you're also condemning anybody still on the ship to die if they can't get the fire under control. Plus, given the size of the eventual explosion, it wasn't going to matter much.
Okay. One of the things I love and kind of hate about our podcast is that we are now guaranteed to get an email from a guy whose grandpa died at the furthest possible point of explosion, telling Noah he's an asshole for that.
Yeah, whatever. That guy's grandpa was probably the guy having the Roman candle fight aboard the USS Boomer.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, I'll see you and raise you a grandpa who was just on the other side in Galveston and made it, you know? So, all right, so just before 9 a.m., the captain makes a really bad decision. He orders his men to steam the hold, and that means exactly like what it sounds like it means, right? You flood the hold with steam to deprive the fire of oxygen.
I thought you were going to say he made the bad decision of being the captain of this ship.
No, he made another bad decision. Right, thanks. Yeah, I got to clarify there. Okay, but so the idea here is you get rid of the oxygen, you get rid of the fire, but ammonium nitrate is an oxidizer.
That's what it does.
Yep. So
Eli, what does that? What does that mean to you?
Oh, it's where you take all the nickels that are inside the socks,
Yep.
and then its real name is Ryan.
Nailed it.
all right. So, but the idea here is that, but the end result is that does fuck all the help. Actually, worse than fuck all, the steam is hot, right? So you're actually increasing the starting temperature of all your highly reactive cargo. In fact, according to the wiki, the steam may have contributed to the fire by converting the ammonium nitrate to nitrous fucking oxide.
And where should I store these magic wands that turn anything into a nuclear warhead?
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'll put them next to the match heads. All right,
Next-
good call.
next to the
Good
match
call
heads,
on
huh?
that, yeah.
I like that in Noah's mind, that last line of his, that it was like a gasp moment, like, whoa, not nitrous oxide. That's way more bad than nitrosity. We all know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Worse.
Exactly.
That's just fun. Like you get that wah wah wah.
You are going to get a want before this is over. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now the ship is burning out of fucking control. The steam pressure inside the ship blows the hatches open and smoke starts billowing out. And because the smoke is tinged with nitrous dioxide fumes, it's a weird yellow-orange color. That starts attracting spectators. Now, public safety announcement here. If you ever see a giant-ass fire and your first thought is, wow, that's a weird color, if your job isn't to put that motherfucker out, get the fuck away from it. Or just put as much distance between you and that fire as you have time to put there. But unfortunately, a lot of people at the port reacted the exact opposite way and just lined up along the shore to see all the pretty colors.
Okay, so I think we can all agree that victim blaming is bad. So pass. I pass. right now.
I do not pass, because if we ever make a citation needed bingo card, they were kind of asking for it as the center goddamn square reference.
Now, at this point, people start to notice that the water around the ship is boiling. The water that splashes against the hull is immediately vaporized. The hull itself is starting to bulge from the pressure on the steam from the steam inside. And then
This seems like a bad sign, Noah. I don't know much about nitrous oxide. This seems like a bad sign.
See, you are
the
correct,
boat's
sir.
just the boat's just skipping across the water like an ice cube on a hot grill. It's just like
It's fucking biblical. The seas are boiling. This is not good. There's a next step here.
Yeah, well, that next step happens at 9:12 a.m. when the whole fucking thing goes tits up. The vessel detonated in one of the largest non-nuclear man-made explosions in Earth's history. The blast produced a 4.5 meter shockwave that was detectable for 100 miles in any direction. In the span of a second, more than 1,000 buildings are completely leveled. 2 sightseeing airplanes nearby were blown out of the fucking sky.
Wait. They were blown out of the sky and then more up into the sky? I don't really
No, the
understand.
other way, the other direction.
Yeah, it
And
was the other one.
there were planes on the ground that were blown into the sky, so it was kind of a weird thing. It's like going both ways.
It was the first time
So-
the explosion ever juggled. Give it a break.
The airplane's like, we can't catch a break. You go up, we go down. Fuck. All right.
So now 10 miles away from the ship, you have windows shattering. Over 6,000 tons of the ship's steel are hurled into the air, some at supersonic speeds, and it rained down on the city along with bales of burning twine from the ship's cargo.
For a second, while it was all up in the air, that was the world's largest ball of twine. It was all connected.
Okay. I feel bad for the guy who got killed by burning twine when he got to heaven.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to get St. Peter to scratch out burning twine and put explosion, right? Come on, man. Don't. Burning twine's not going to get me laid up here.
Now,
It was orange smoke. It was so cool. Come on.
so, okay, I'm going to be honest here. Without video, it's really hard to get your head around the scale of this explosion, but a similar sized explosion actually was captured on film last year in Beirut. And you've almost certainly seen that video. The explosion is remarkably similar. In fact, the Beirut explosion was caused by a fire in a warehouse that was storing 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate. But as terrible as that accident was, and like 220 plus people died in it, I'm in no way trying to minimize it. In Beirut, it was pretty much just the one explosion. Texas City was just getting started.
Oh, my God.
In addition to leveling a bunch of chemical plants and catching a shit ton of refineries and chemical tanks on fire, the explosion also caught a bunch of the other ships that were still docked on fire. And among them was a ship called the High Flyer, which was carrying more ammonium nitrate.
What?
Guys, we actually literally would have been safer parking next to the uranium ship. That's kind of funny, right? Like, remember, I was like, let's wait for a spot away from the uranium. And then we're right next to more ammonium nitrate.
What are the
It's worse.
chances this tragedy would take place the day before the big dynamite?
Right.
Bad luck.
So now at this point, the whole area is devastated and a bunch of people were killed, including all but one member of the 28-man Texas City Volunteer Fire Department. But the survivors on the High Flyer did heroic work trying to cut their ship from her anchor and get her the fuck away from shore. Unfortunately, by this point, the whole fucking port is a maze of twisted debris and shit, so there's no way that they're going to get it out. 15 hours after the Grand Camp detonated, the High Flyer exploded, raining down yet more flaming wreckage, ramping up the death toll that much further, and setting a ship called the SS Wilson B. Keene on fire, which was also carrying ammonium
Jesus.
nitrate.
No. We should really sail away because, we're full of ammonium nitrate. But first, everyone take a guess. Boy or girl. Set up the whole thing. It's going to be great.
The smoke is orange. What does that mean?
To be fair to this whole thing, I mean, knocking over one domino isn't very satisfying.
True.
I mean, I get it.
True
I mean,
that. True that.
It tracked.
All right, so now the official death toll from this thing is 581 people, but in reality, that's almost certainly a gross underestimate. In an explosion of this scale, you're not always going to have identifiable remains for all the casualties. And by, I mean, like, you're not always going to have shit that's identifiable as remains, right? They get that official number by adding the 405 identified bodies, the 63 unidentified bodies, and the 113 people that were known to be in the area and were never heard from again. But that means potentially hundreds of visiting seamen, undocumented workers, and visitors went uncounted. Now, to be clear, though, even that low estimate is enough to make this the deadliest industrial accident in American history. Now, so in addition to the hundreds of dead, more than 5,000 people were injured, 1,784 of whom were admitted to the 21 area hospitals. Property damage from the blast quickly topped $100 million, and that's 1947 money, so we're talking over $1 billion in today's money. And the wiki has a weirdly specific partridge in a pear tree list of blown up shit that includes 1,100 vehicles and 362 freight cars, in case you needed an exact number on that. More than 500 homes were destroyed, leaving at least 2,000 people homeless, and the seaport, the lifeblood of the whole fucking city, was completely destroyed. To give you an idea of just how destroyed we're talking, the Grand Camp's main anchor weighs 4.5 metric tons. It was eventually found more than a half mile inland
God damn.
at the entrance of the Texas City Dike. The smaller 1.8 metric ton anchor was found more than 1.5 miles away in a freshly depressed 10-foot crater.
Wow. Sounds like a mess, even by Houston standards,
Right?
you know?
Yeah, man, the shockwave still couldn't push the stench off the city. So.
It probably did for just a minute, and there was somebody going like, okay, most of this is bad, but you have to admit.
And then another stench quickly took its place in line, just came right in. You know?
Right.
It's the waiting stench. Yeah, that's our backup stench. We keep one on deck all the time.
Yeah. That was New Jersey's original motto, the backup stench.
So, of course, even if the local fire department was at full strength, the aftermath of this explosion would have been too much for them. As it stood, all 4 of their fire trucks had been reduced to twisted metal, and all but one of their firefighters had been killed in the initial blast. I guess one dude's job was to coordinate arriving volunteers at a rallying point like 6 miles from the boat fire, but everybody else was on the dock trying to prevent that explosion. The city put out a call for volunteers, and eventually they got them from as far away as L.A., but it would still take weeks to put out all the fires left in the wake of the blast.
Hi. Yeah, I'm here to put out the fire from last Christmas.
Yeah, pretty much. No, not that Christmas, the one before, last Christmas. Yeah. So this explosion also led to an interesting nugget of legal history. It would mark the first time that the United States would be the defendant in a class action lawsuit. In April of I'm probably getting this all wrong, but in April of 1950, a district court would find for the plaintiffs in Elizabeth Dallahite et al. v. United States. Basically, they pointed to the regulations that should have been put in place on the manufacture, packaging, labeling, transportation, storage, and loading of ammonium nitrate, as well as the ones that should have been put in place about fire suppression and fire prevention at giant seaports full of explosion boats.
Yeah, I guess the rule they should have had was, don't have this.
That would be a good one. Good start.
None of this.
Yeah.
If you're reading this, leave.
No. A couple of years later, though, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals would overturn that decision, and the SCOTUS would eventually affirm that the district court didn't have the jurisdiction to find the U.S. government liable for negligent planning decisions. Now, I'm certainly no legal expert, but I feel like maybe the last 7 decades play out a little bit differently if legal precedent held that the government was accountable every time its lack of regulations caused huge, deadly, accidental explosions. I'd love to hold them accountable for their intentional explosions, too, but that's a whole different story. We have to get into a lot of stuff there.
Wow. Someone finally got to the point of his story before the break. So I got nothing. Why don't we throw another log of ammonium nitrate on the fire while we take a break for some apropos of nothing?
Sir,
Yes, Johnson, what is it?
there's a fire at the harbor, sir. It's bad. The SS Grandpappy, or whatever Noah said, filled to the brim with an ammonium nitrate.
My God, is there anything we can do?
I'm afraid not. If she goes, there's a chance she'll settle like 2 more ships. They're also full of ammonium nitrate.
Seriously?
I'm afraid so, sir.
Okay, well,
Plus, there's a big ammonium nitrate warehouse just a block away next to Dave's Easy Lighting Fuses Emporium. And of course, today is the big ammonium nitrate parade all along 5th Avenue.
okay, got it. Let's get all the ammonium nitrate away from there as fast as possible. Just get it away from there.
Okay, does that mean trains too? Like trains full of ammonium nitrate? Okay.
Everything that has ammonium nitrate should be as far away as possible from the explosion.
Okay, that's understood, sir. You mind if I leave this here then?
Johnson, why do you have a brick of ammonium nitrate in your pocket?
For the parade?
Okay. Well, when we left off, we answered that age-old question: if there's a large enough explosion and no one's left to hear it, did it really happen? And yes, it did. So, you have another crater tour you want to take us on, Noah?
Yeah. So reading up on the Texas City disaster sent me down a really fucked up rabbit hole, but it got me wondering, okay, so this story's been about the largest unintentional man-made explosion in U.S. history. But what was the largest unintentional man-made explosion in world history? And the answer surprised the fuck out of me.
Hiroshima.
Okay. I feel like it was very much intentional, Eli. They had meetings.
Yeah, it surprised him. He said it surprised him. It would surprise me.
I didn't say it wasn't surprising. All right, so now, like the last story,
Unintentional and surprising are very different things.
America just sends a telegram. Whoops.
so sorry.
My bad.
Our bad.
Stop.
Yeah. All right, so now, like the last story, if I asked people what the deadliest accidental explosion in world history was, most of them probably couldn't tell me. But if I asked what country it happened in, I feel like most people would guess correctly, because China is the world's Texas. So
I don't know who's more insulted.
China.
Oh, China,
is more
definitely,
insulting.
yeah.
China is
So the geography of the thing didn't surprise me much, but the timing of it really did, because it turns out that the world's biggest unintentional man-made explosion happened on May 30th of 1626. Yeah, and as surprising as that sounds, it's important to remember that China was doing gunpowder way before the rest of the world, and it's not like our ability to store that shit has gotten worse over time, right?
worse than the ammonium nitrate convention in Texas. What were they storing it inside an active volcano?
Oh, we'll get there. All right, so this tragedy is called the Wangongcheng explosion, also the Great Tianqi explosion, and here's where you get your first hint of the astronomical death toll from this thing, the Beijing explosive incident. Now, it took place at the Wangongcheng Armory, which is a couple of miles southeast of the Forbidden City. It was one of 6 gunpowder factories operated by the imperial government, and it was also, and this seems like a great combo, one of the main storage facilities for armor, firearms, and ammunition.
We also sell Ersatz dynamite plungers and big red X's.
Right, exactly. We also have a boat
Blueprints,
full of match heads and a train full of sandpaper. Yeah. Plus, by the way, to save on their transporting costs, they just stored all the gunpowder right there at the factory until they needed it. Like the Texas City disaster, we don't actually know the cause of this explosion.
Sublimation.
Sorry. But at a certain point of stacking gunpowder on top of gunpowder or ammonium nitrate on top of oil refineries or whatever, that pretty much becomes the cause. We actually do have a pretty detailed account of the explosion, though, from a contemporary government proclamation with the foreboding title of Official Notice of Heavenly Calamity. So I'm just going to quote this bit from the wiki, but I'll replace the Chinese units of measure with their metric equivalents.
Cecil would also like to know if we know the angles of stuff as well. He's too shy to say it.
Yeah, it's a fun thing we do. I mentioned angles one time. I mentioned it one time.
All the
From now on, I'm the angle fucking guy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Angles are stupid, nerd.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about angles, asshole.
Keith, can you reach an angle off the top shelf for me?
Quote, the explosion reportedly took place in the late morning of May 30th, 1626. The sky was clear, but suddenly a loud roaring rumble was heard coming from the northeast.
Oh, specifically, I feel like that depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Gradually reaching the southwest of the city, followed by dust clouds with shaking of houses. Then a bright streak of flash containing a great light followed, and a huge bang that shattered the sky and crumbled the earth occurred. The sky turned dark, and everything within about a 2-kilometer vicinity was utterly obliterated. The streets were unrecognizable, littered with fragmented pieces and showered with falling roof tiles. The force of the explosion was so great that large trees were uprooted and thrown to the opposite side of the city, and a 3-metric-ton stone lion was thrown over the city wall. End quote.
Right. It was from top right to bottom left.
Yeah, exactly. So now the official notice goes on to talk about how far away you could hear the explosion and feel the trembling, but since most of us aren't super familiar with 17th century Chinese geography, and since there's no way in hell I'm going to pronounce the place names correctly, I'm just going to say that like 150 kilometers away, people were going, what the fuck was that?
All the volcanoes in the Ring of Fire hold up judges' scorecards.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Okay, one last bit from the Wiki's article's summary of the official notice. Quote, the grounds around the immediate vicinity of... Jesus fucking Christ, what's wrong with wiki editors? The ground around the immediate vicinity of... The ground around, assholes. Now you're done. You can go smoke a bowl. Stop with your verbose bullshit. Anyway, the ground around the immediate vicinity of Wangongcheng Armory, the epicenter of the explosion, had sunken for over 21 feet, but there was a notable lack of fire damage. The clouds over the epicenter were also reported to be strange. Some looked like messy strands of silk. Some were multicolored, while some looked like a black lingzhi. That's a kind of mushroom that grew out of the side of trees there. So I think it's safe to just sub in mushroom cloud for that one.
Whoa.
The death toll from this thing was enormous. While there's no concrete number, estimates at the time were something in the vicinity of 20,000 people. And I couldn't find an estimate of the property damage, but it's like, it's a city.
Okay. I don't know much about explosions and things, but I think when the sky has to take some time afterwards to get its shit together, that's a bite.
Right. Now,
the sky shattered?
Yeah.
Is that what they said?
Oh, yeah. Man, we need a new sky, guys. That's fucked.
Yeah, well,
we sweep up the fucking sky. It looks ridiculous. We're getting a new one.
So in a lot of ways, this explosion was actually the Ming Dynasty's Chernobyl. Right, so the late Ming Dynasty was already shaky because of regional conflicts and a series of natural disasters related to the Little Ice Age.
Love that movie.
There had been a number of riots and rebellions among the peasantry leading up to this, and then this disaster comes and it provides several nails for the emperor's coffin. First of all, it happens right next to the capital. So among the casualties are a fuck ton of government ministers and bureaucrats who aren't exactly going to be able to train their replacements now. Hell, one of the casualties was the 7-month-old crown prince. So both the people who governed the empire and the facilities they used to do it were leveled. At the same time, their armory just lost its largest weapons depot and its largest weapons manufacturing facility. So, but more important than all the physical shit the empire lost was the loss of the mandate of heaven. Right, so the whole Chinese imperial system is based on the belief that the reason the emperor is elevated is because the gods like him the most, right? He has the mandate of heaven. But when terrible shit happens, it's interpreted as the gods giving up on that emperor, right? Like telling people, no, you got to change out. We don't like this guy. And blowing your whole capital city the fuck up is about as clear a message as the gods could send.
All right, we found the problem. So go ahead and make another giant pile of bomb dust, but with a godly emperor.
Oh, that's exactly what they do.
Imagine how religion causes problems.
That's what they do.
I feel like a good politician could have spun that explosion. It was just God giving us a high five, guys. Come on. Glass
I,
half
for
full.
one, miss the days when violently fucking up your own capital city was universally held as proof that you were a goddamn disaster.
Right? Right? All right, so all of that shit combined with the massive cost of rebuilding the city proved a blow that the emperor could never really overcome. The Ming Dynasty would last another 18 years before falling apart altogether. Now, like I said, we don't actually know the cause of that explosion. I mean, the contemporary efforts to explain it are pretty thick with superstitious speculation, and a lot of the stuff we have today is tainted by exaggeration. But the most obvious culprit, obviously, is accidental ignition, right? Like a mishandled open flame, a spark, an electrostatic discharge, or even intentional sabotage have all been suggested.
All right, so we ruled out icicle stabbing. Good work, everybody.
Right. But the only reason I bring it up is because it's also possible that the gunpowder factory was just an innocent victim of a different explosion. I actually don't know how plausible it is, but according to the Wikipedia article, the description and magnitude of the explosion is more consistent with a meteor exploding in midair than an accidental gunpowder ignition. And superstition or no, I feel like when the heavens themselves start throwing rocks at your gunpowder factories, you change leaders just to be on the safe side, right?
Yeah, there's no more mandate from heaven at that point. That's like an official opposite of mandate.
And if you had to summarize what you learned in one sentence, what would it be, Noah?
Houston was never meant to be inhabited by humans, and we're punished every day for our defiance.
I think that's a good bet. All right, are you ready for the quiz?
About ready to blow my top.
All right, Noah. We've learned a lot about Texas this week, but which of the following fun facts
How dare you to
are
know?
also
No,
true?
this is my thing. This is my thing.
He's got his question. He's already mid-question. You got to let him finish.
A, Vietnamese is its third most spoken language. B, the state motto is friendship, just the word friendship. C, Texas is home to the highway with the highest speed limit in the United States. Or D, Texas is larger than any country in Europe.
Oh my God, so
All
much
right.
fun.
So it can't be B. I know the state motto is, are you going to finish that? So
And the state answer is yes.
Right, yeah, exactly. So it can't because like I feel like to get there you'd have to count English as the most spoken language, and if you've ever been to Texas, you know that's bullshit. Texas is I can see people really wanting to get the fuck out of Texas if they were in it. And D, Texas. I feel like Texas is larger than every country in Europe. I'm going to go with D.
Oh, that is also true along with all the other ones.
Yeah, right. I couldn't really miss on that one.
Okay, which of the following funner facts?
Funner facts.
I go now. I go
want
with
you
my
to
fun
know,
facts. They're funner.
Podcast listener, Heath had a pun and he deleted it for this.
These are funner. A, fun fact, Dr. Pepper was invented in Texas, and the recipe is such a big goddamn secret.
Why, though?
That they kept 2 halves of the recipe in 2 separate safety deposit boxes in 2 different banks in Dallas. B, everyone in the town of Clark, Texas, got free TV and DVR service for 10 years from the Dish Network when they renamed their town Dish, Texas. They're still called Dish, Texas. C, Texas is the home of real towns named White Settlement, Cut and Shoot, and Jot 'em Down.
Jot 'em down. Is it
Jot 'em down,
is it apostrophe EM in there? Jot
It
'em
is
down.
literally
God.
spelled the way Cecil just said with an apostrophe EM. Yep.
Oh my God.
D, a time capsule in Texas contains a passbook to a bank account that was opened in 1968 with one $10 bill. And when it's set to be opened in 2968, 1,000 years later, the owners of that time capsule are pretty sure it's going to be worth about $1 quadrillion. Or E, I had more than Eli. E, Amarillo is the helium capital of the world, with about 90% of the recoverable helium in the entire world. And I think we can all agree that a giant explosion is always tragic, but that would be adorable in Amarillo because of the voice.
Yeah, for sure.
That's adorable. That's adorable.
All right. So interesting sub fact here. Those 2 safe deposit boxes in Dallas for Dr. Pepper, one of them says carbonated, the other one says prune juice. I think I'm going to go with F, all of the above.
That is correct. Well done. How fun were those?
That's pretty fun. Those were way
Thank
funner
you.
than Eli's facts, right? I'm going to go ahead
They
and
were
say
about the same level of fun. Be honest, Noah.
Thank you, Cecil.
Even if
Best
they were the same,
friend.
I had 5, so it was 25% more. Fun.
All right, Noah, contrary to both Eli and Heath, there is nothing fun about Texas.
There we go.
How should we solve that it exists? A, let them secede.
Oh, you're done. Yeah, no, you should be done.
there you
Yeah,
go.
that's good.
I
Can you guess it?
I'm gonna go with B. Airlift Austin first.
Okay, that's actually the
yeah.
secret. Yes.
Support.
All right, you got it.
Franklin Barbecue.
Nicely done.
Tom was the most concise. He wins today.
Oh, see, Heath, we were grading on brevity, so Eli actually finished
brevity.
ahead of him.
I'm typically known for my concision. That's great.
Silver. I'm biting my silver.
I'll do it next week, Tom. I'll just do it. How's that? Okay,
All right.
sound
Sounds
good?
good.
Okay. All right. Well, for Noah,
I was
Tom,
supposed to
Eli, and
announce you were
Heath,
the essayist, but I didn't.
I'm Cecil. Thank you for hanging out with us today,
Yeah.
despite what Tom was supposed to say when he missed his line. We'll be back next week, and by then, I'll be an expert on something else between now and then. Listen to our other stuff. And if you'd like to help keep this show going, you can make a per-episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod, or leave us a 5-star review everywhere you can. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, check out past episodes, connect with us on social media, or check the show notes, be sure to check out citationpod.com.
There he is, Sleepyhead. Someone took a while to download their consciousness into a new body.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, well, someone got up on the wrong side of the cloning pod, and I don't know why, because you're looking awful tall today, Cecil.
No way. Seriously?
Yeah, half an inch. I talked to my clone guy. It turns out it's just one of these little knobs on the side.
Dude, you're the best. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What? You said you couldn't adjust our heights. You said that.
No, I said tall is your thing. Ignore him.
I'm just going to go reach up on so many shells.
Yeah, you are.
Man, high five me, Heath. I can reach now.
No.